Another week, boys, and another TWAB. Fellas, before we get into today's TWAB, I gotta share some information. I've got a colonoscopy first thing in the morning. I've never had one. I'm a little frightened, but what's scaring me the most is as we are beginning this audio right now, I just took the laxative to prepare me for tomorrow, and I'm really hoping to God we'll be able to make it through this TWAB. Now, this week at Bungie, we're calling in reservations. It's been a wild week inside of Destiny 2. In No Town, in Notum, it's the Super Scion guy made their grand entrance into the Sundial. Guardians descended upon Mercury, weapons in hand, eager to protect the timeline from certain annihilation. While if you prevented the Scions from changing history, this isn't the last trial you'll face, not by a long shot. Dun dun dun. The first 3 Empyrean Foundation goals have also been met with haste. 1 billion fractaling isn't enough though for the Foundation, and the next goal is currently in reach. Your next stop, 2.2 billion fractaling donations. So yeah, we talked about this yesterday, or at least we talked about this on Twitter. It turns out the number that we said last week might actually be the correct number, as in at stage 7, we could potentially be having to donate somewhere between 13 and 15 billion fractally. Now, we said the other day we thought it was actually going to be 5.2 billion, that we overestimated, but that's not the case, since 1.2 billion to 2.2 billion is a much bigger leap than the linear line that we saw before. Either way it goes, it looks like something we're going to be breaking, at least not until next Tuesday. Now, Bungie states, we knew you'd rise to the challenge, but this is absolutely insane. Keep that fractaling coming. We're seeing quite a few Guardians investing in their fractaling futures, but many hitting the donation button to quickly earn some sweet time-lost weapons. The final triumph for Savior Seal will be completed once the community completes the 7th stage of this event. We're excited to see a new title in the wild. Players will also unlock the ability to pre-order the Savior Bungie reward pin once they've completed all triumphs for the seal. Alrighty, and that's the seal right there. Got the Saint 14 logo. Looks pretty sexy. Now let's look at the calendar. We have some beats to cover that are coming up quick, with a new season on the way in just over a month. Below you'll find details on Crimson Days, Destiny 2 Hotfix 2.7.1.1, and a patch note preview for Season 10. Oh boy! That's right, guys, Crimson Days is on the way. Bungie actually dropped a trailer today, and with the return of Crimson Days is also the return of Doubles. Bungie states right here that Crimson Doubles returns to the Crucible during the event, bringing the explosive 2v2 combat to the fold. Stay close to your partner. You'll each have a heightened ability regeneration as long as you retain your Crimson Bond. If you stray too far away from each other though, opponents will be able to see your every move. If you'd rather take your partner out for a stroll in one of Destiny 2's PvE activities, Shaxx will also offer bounties for you to complete in a 2-person fire team. As you complete Crimson Double matches and bounties, you and your partner will be showered in delicious candy hearts. To sweeten the deal, daily and weekly bounties will offer double XP. Bright Dust will also be rewarded when completing your weekly bounties. As you begin to stockpile confectionery hearts, they can be exchanged with Lord Shaxx for Crimson Day themed rewards, including 2 new exotic sparrows. Ride in tandem to show the strength of your Crimson Bond. Man, let me tell you, fellas, it's not too many times I just don't want to get with the boys. We just get our matching sparrows together, and not just with the boys, but just one of them, right? Hand in hand with my fellow Titan out there. But no lie, doubles is not for everyone. If you like playing close to your teammate though, and yes, it's greatly emphasized that you stay pretty much on top of your teammates to take advantage of that ability regeneration inside of doubles, then you're gonna like the 2v2 playlist that returns next week. Now, Bungie states, if this is your first Crimson Day event, or you didn't earn enough hearts in years past, rewards from previous events will also be available to earn alongside the new sparrow. Alrighty, so we have, of course, the exotic sparrows with a previous sparrow in the mix, an emote, some random gift, probably only contains some shaders, an ornament for Warcliffe Coil, a ghost, and of course the bow that we had last year returning again this year, called the Vow. Now, the Vow was a static roll, and it actually had a very solid static roll last year. It's got a draw time of 540, comes with Archer's tempo and rapid hit. If it's returning with the same static rolls, it's already questionable that it's returning anyways. Like, come on, Bungie. You couldn't give us a new Crimson Day weapon What the hell? But if that doesn't get you going, it's alright. Because upon collecting both sparrows and claiming the associated triumph, you gain the exclusive emblem that will be available through the Bungie rewards. Actually, it's not a bad looking emblem. Eververse will also feature many items from previous events for Bright Dust, including 2 new items exclusive to Crimson Days. 1 new item will also be available for silver only, the Heartfelt Union multiplayer emotes, and this is them in action right here. Look at that. Oh, that's so nice. You know, that's what it's all about, man. We kill aliens. Instead of throwing up gang signs around the galaxy, we just throw up some hearts, dude. Look at that. Now again, guys, Crimson Days will be available from February the 11th through the 18th. And for my new light players, welcome to Crimson Days. Now moving on, Sandbox boys. Bungie states we're a little over a month out from the next season of Destiny 2. And this seems like a good time to start talking about Sandbox. Over the next few weeks, we'll be covering upcoming changes to weapons and abilities. Some changes will be PvP centric, while others will bear more of a PvE focus. Our first subject, swords. Some are sharp, some are blunt. One lets you bend space and time to teleport through enemies. Another has projectiles that can take down foes at a range. Since the launch of Destiny 2, we've been seeing feedback on general functionality, and the team has been kicking around the idea on how to make things a bit more enticing. After some brainstorming and development time, swords are receiving a sort of a table flip when it comes to light attacks, heavy attacks, and guarding. While you still rip and tear their opponents, as you would expect from a sword, most of what you know needs to be unlearned. The blades have been rebalanced, and a new energy meter is making its way to swords. Below you'll find a full rundown from our development team. So from the dev team, swords are getting a little more love this season. While swords have been a staple of Destiny ever since their introduction in the Taken King, we felt they were due for an update, both to freshen them up, but also to allow us more room to work with them in later releases. AKA, Raised Lighter is on the way. Now looking at the sword energy, swords now have their own reserve of energy that recharges naturally on its own, and it's not to be confused with ammo capacity. This energy will overtake your melee slot when you're wielding a sword, and it's spent on various actions. That's interesting. Does that mean it can proc melee abilities? Now moving on to guarding. Guarding now uses sword energy instead of consuming ammo. Different guards have different consumption rates, damage resistance, and behaviors, so be sure to experiment and find a guard type you like. You'll still need at least 1 ammo though to even begin guarding. Back during Season of the Drifter, the Stronghold exotic for Titans was introduced, allowing them to guard with relative impunity and opening up a more interesting opportunities for swords to shine in a variety of content, which causes us to take another look at the guard function itself. Although the guard function has always existed, it was never really considered worth the cost. With this change, we hope that players will use their guard intelligently to protect themselves instead of it being an almost unused button. Rest easy. Stronghold has also been modified to still allow Titans a unique guarding experience. So yeah, that was actually interesting when we reviewed Black Talon and its exotic catalyst. I felt like to really get the most out of that catalyst, you almost had to be a Titan using Strongholds because it did rely on that guard. Hopefully this is all around gonna boost the guard function just in general to allow people to take advantage of not just that exotic catalyst, but just the guard function overall. Now moving on to the light attacks. Ground light attacks for all swords will now loop for an infinite combo, and all swords can cleave. What? While the basic 3-hit combo is quite a staple of melee weapons in many games, in a shooter, this leaves the player extremely open to enemies. Yes, it does. By letting the light attacks loop, we also push them and the heavy attacks apart further. Cleaving on a light attack was previously only on aggressive swords, but we opted to add it to the rest of them for a more hack and slash. I love this. Getting that claymore action for everybody. Heavy attacks. Heavy attacks now consume sword energy. While you are always able to perform a heavy attack, the attack is stronger when you have full energy and weaker when you don't. A lot of swordplay in many situations simply boil down to endlessly mashing the heavy attack button instead of mixing up attacks, which wasn't quite the most interesting experience. Do note that aerial heavy attacks as a general rule do not consume sword energy, but that can vary based on the sword. What they don't tell you right here though, guys, is that aerial attacks in general, they do less damage, right? Or is that for light attacks? I gotta dig back through it, man. Tells you how often I use swords. I actually love them. You just didn't really use them because they weren't that efficient. Now they actually look like they're gonna be pretty efficient. Now looking at shield bypass for our swords, a portion of most sword attacks can partially bypass elemental shields, We added this to give swords a little bit of personality difference from shotguns, who share a very similar role in combat as powerful close quarter weapons. In general, swords have also had some of the damage amounts for different attacks change, and the various sword perks have been adjusted. So you'll want to experiment a bit after the changes hit. We do hope you enjoy the changes. Again, fellas, notoriously in the past, Bungie does these things when they're about to introduce an exotic. Just think about it. We got a bunch of sidearm buffs entering Season of the Dawn, right? And then out of nowhere, bam, we got that new exotic sidearm. There's multiple examples of this. I'm not saying Raised Light or Dark Drinker's gonna drop on us next season, but I wouldn't be surprised. Other than that, guys, we do have some other known issues that are gonna be included in Hotfix 2.7.11. If these are affecting you, they should be fixed starting next Tuesday. Fellas, we might have to wrap this video up soon. It's about to hit me, man. Last but not least, before I let you go, there are some known issues with Crimson Days ahead. Bungie states that next week, Crimson Days returns to the Crucible, but the few known issues about the event, players will be unable to accept Lord Shaxx's Fire of Crimson Days emblem if they already have this emblem in their inventory. Deleting the emblem will allow them to accept the new one and complete the Welcome to the Crimson Days milestone. Players who are removed from a match and rejoin will not be able to respond until the current round ends. These players will see waiting for an ally to revive for the remaining duration of the round. Also, Crimson Day bounties do not advance the Crucible Bounty Vendor Challenge. With that being said, fellas, that's pretty much it. The Empyrean Restoration is going on right now. Feel free to either donate your Fractalines or invest. To even get started on it, make sure you've completed the quest from Osiris, A Matter of Time. And then, of course, complete the Saint 14 quest, Tribute to the Colonies, Cornerstone, and A Guardian's Duty. Y'all been great today. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.